Hey everybody, Happy New Year. I just wanted to jump on and I wanted to introduce myself. I'd seen a lot of folks that started to follow over the New Year's. I've been getting a ton of questions about the secret stories, what they are, how they work, a lot of questions that are aligned with the thinking that we usually have when we look at a program. Secret stories are not a program. And so I thought that given the questions I've gotten, the new followers that I have, and then also the giveaway that I'm doing with Jen Jones right now, which is the biggest one I've actually ever done. I'm doing it with Jen because she is kind of a kindred spirit in her her insight into not just what it is that goes into really building up teachers to make them confident and effective, highly effective with literacy instruction, but to also give them the freedom to really play in a direction that's comfortable for them, to make teaching what it should be and what it was when we went into it, which is something enjoyable, something that we love as much as the kids love. And what we're teaching is something that the kids actually can love, not skill and drill and repetitious rote practice. There are other ways to build automaticity. There are other ways to gain and hone deep ownership of skills. As a matter of fact, the best way to hone deep in the gut ownership of skills is to really to own it, to connect with it, to personally relate to it, and to feel something about it. So I think Jen and everything that she shares is all geared toward empowering teachers to find their own path to get where she shows you you can be. So I think that's a lot different than micromanaging your steps. And that's, I think, why I really love following her. I'm not in the classroom now, but I work with teachers across the country and I speak at conferences. And my focus specifically is on backdoor access to high leverage phonics skills so that kids can have more of the code faster. I don't know if you can hear my dog right now, but she's insisting on doing every noisy thing she can, like directly next to me. Anyway, the key with phonics is something that's never talked about. It's never talked about. It's just assumed that you have to spend 3 to 4 grade level years. Can you hear her? She's still doing it. She's like right over there. I'm stuck in my bedroom because we have house guests, so I'm like stuck in this little space and she's gonna entertain you with sound while I'm talking. With phonics, with letters, with sounds, you don't have to spend a whole year teaching individual letters. You don't have to spend a whole year trying to teach blends. It doesn't take all of second grade to get the R-controlled vowels or the digraphs. Kids need as much as they can have as soon as they can have it because we're reading and writing. We're reading and writing across the instructional day from kindergarten, but we never have opportunities to take advantage of all that reading and writing across the instructional day because most kids don't have anything to read and write with in terms of the code until second grade. So what can kindergartners really write with like an A through G plus 4 sight words like big girl, it, she, and would? Nothing. Can't read the math directions. Can't read what's on the menu. You can't write about what you did over the holiday. By common sense, kids need more of the code faster so they can do more with it. And I think I started this out by saying, like Jen, I don't really believe that we are at our best as teachers when we're told what to do, how to do it, when to do it. I think we need to know why to do it. I think we need to know where the goal is. And then we need to have lots of tools that are available to us, tools that can align with where our strengths lie, that we can pull, grab from, and use to get where we need to go. Whether that's, higher level vocabulary instruction, whether that's fluency, whether that is, critical thinking comprehension, or simply accessing the code. And really, phonics, again, is my focal point. Jen opens the door to everything that is literacy, which is personally why I learned, from her, because I'm working with K through 5 teachers, pre-K through 5 teachers, and then sometimes onward and upward. So they're dealing with a lot more than just phonics. But phonics is the one piece of this recipe that is, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension. Phonics is the piece of your dish that if you don't have it nailed down, the rest of your dish will fall flat. It is like the salt that's going to make your, homemade special secret sauce pop. If kids can't access the text, they can't build fluency, or increase fluency. They can't build vocabulary. They can't increase comprehension. You have to be able to read to do all those things. So I focus like a laser on that and using the brain science and where we know kids have access earlier, social emotional learning systems, what they think about how they feel, behaviors, tattling centers are what I call them. Who did what to who can't have a peanut, who hit who can't sit by who always gets to be the line leader, who never gets to be the line leader, and why. All of those tracks that kids can so easily access, we can hijack and use to transport high leverage phonics skills that they're not even supposed to have heard about, let alone use with proficiency at 5, at 6. And I'm talking, sneaky Y, positional sounds of Y, that Y can say E, or it can say I, or it can say A, or it can say Oi. Having a 5-year-old be able to easily access all of the ins and outs and ups and downs when it comes to a skill that's not supposed to even be taught until the end of 2nd grade, it shifts everything about what you're doing and how you're doing it. It makes everything an opportunity to engage with text, from the lunch menu to the road sign to the billboard. Everywhere kids look, there are opportunities to engage with text. We can't take much instructional value from those opportunities, though, if kids are bringing so little of the code to the table to make sense of it. I can't do diddly squat with 7 letters and 4 sight words. I can't do diddly squat with 26 individual letters and 10 sight words, because all those letters that make those individual sounds will almost never be making those same individual sounds in real words. In real words, letters get together with other letters, and entirely different sounds come out. And those are what we call the phonics patterns. And until kids have access, ownership, ease of connection with those sounds, which I really see as an extension to the alphabet. They know the alphabet, they know the sounds of the alphabet, but what about what lies beyond the alphabet? What about those sounds, the oys, the ings, the ors, the sh, the th? What about all those sounds that can only be made or represented on paper by those phonics patterns? Why do kids have to wait 2 years to get those? Kids can't wait to get the sound because they need to write the word turn and bird and her. And if they know that these guys are terrible, awful, horrible, no good drivers, and they always slam on their brakes and go, poof, it's theirs. They walk out the door with it. Literally, at 4, they walk out the door with it. So doesn't mean that they're going to be able to read the word her, because in order to read the word her, they need to know the H also. It takes 2 to tango. Kids need the individual letter sounds, and they need to know what letters do when they get together, which I call secrets. It's the power of combining those 2 things that really build the reading and the writing momentum across your entire instructional day. The whole world is a reading opportunity and a reading lesson. There's no block specific that you have to teach phonics in. Every opportunity that you see a word that has, let's say, this sound in it, kids in your class can go, Arr! Now they may not know what a H is yet. And if they don't, they won't be able to read the word her. But as soon as they do, they can say, her. Hey, I can read that word. That word's her. So it takes both. And this is a 2nd grade skill in most scopes and sequence of a program. Now, I'm not saying toss your program. I'm just saying, why not fire it up? Give it some steroids. Pump it up a little bit. Your program is your playground. Your playground is where you get to stretch your reading and writing muscles, but you have to have something to read and write with. Programs are really interesting. And by programs, I mean your reading series or your phonics curriculum. They give kids words like the, which is in every story, can't avoid it, but they don't teach the TH sound until later, like 1st grade. You have to be able to read the reading program to get much out of it, or at least you will get more out of it, more instructional value out of it when kids can actually read it and make sense of it and see patterns and connections and things that look familiar. So if they know that these 2 letters should never be together, ever, just like the 2 boys on the first day of school that you've split up 3 times, Johnny and Jeremy are not supposed to be together, every single kid that comes in your class the next day is going to remind you or your sub or the principal or any parent volunteer that walks in that Johnny and Jeremy can't sit together. The teacher said they're not allowed to be together because they always, and then they can even tell them what they do. Hit, spit, kick, whatever. Same tracks, same synapse connections that they use to access that information, they can use to go when they see that. Now, do they have to know what a T and H is first? Heck no. No, they don't have to know. All they have to do is see the symbol make the sound, or hear the sound and identify the culprit that made it. Now, will they ultimately know this is a T and an H? Yeah. What the secrets do is it teaches individual letter sounds, and I shouldn't say teaches, it gives individual letter sounds using muscle memory. That's another earlier developing track we can tap into. Social emotional centers are what tracks the secrets. Social emotional centers are, the brain develops back to front. Social emotional connections are in the mid-rear portion of the brain. We can access those centers. They're already primed. They're their tattling centers. Kids come into pre-K ready to activate those centers. At 3 and 4, they start connecting who did what and behaviors and their social awareness and understanding, being embarrassed, feeling angry, being in love. All those different things are what we're tapping into. Now, the better alphabet is how we hit those individual letter sounds, and that taps into a different earlier developing track. That's muscle memory, lips, tongue, and teeth. So when you sing the itsy bitsy sp, and your lips, tongue, and teeth find their way into the sp sound, that wasn't something they were cognitively aware of. That's just a track their lips, tongue, and teeth followed. So we can access that to capture the individual letters and sounds with what I call the better alphabet, but it doesn't fall into the trap that usually songs will. Because a song has a problem, which is that it's going to be locked together as a read-only disc in the brain, which means there's a beginning and an end, and typically in order to pull the information kids need from songs, they have to sing all the way through. You can't do that with the alphabet. If I need to know what L says or B says or K says or W says, I need to sing the letter and have the sound pop right out of my mouth. The only way to make that happen is to trick the brain by repeating it as if it's 26 mini songs for every single letter grouping. So the better alphabet, and you can find it if you type in Secret Stories Better Alphabet on YouTube, the better alphabet chops the melody into 26 mini songs. It sounds like one long song, but it's actually 26 little connected songs. And the reason that's important is kids need to be able to sing directly on the letter they need if they can't remember the sound and go, W says w. So they have to be able to access everything individually. And if we know the brain like a chess opponent, we can cheat it, get around it, and take advantage of the areas that we know are actually going to work with us instead of against us. So often when we teach reading, and especially phonics and letter sounds, we work in absolute defiance of the way the brain learns. And that's not in any way useful. So we want to work aligned with the brain, not against it. And the key there is going to be to connect with the earlier developing and already primed centers that are ready to go. Now, the better alphabet takes 2 weeks to 2 months, and it's done. 2 weeks to 2 months, that is it. And that is for pre-K and kindergarten. The acquisition time is identical. And the reason for that is there's no higher level processing involved. The higher level processing is going to come into play as kids start to apply the sounds by putting the h and the together to notice that word's her. But in the meantime, we're front loading the code through the back door. We're putting things in there before kids need to connect with them so that the moment those little bells and whistles kind of pop into play, they've already got what they need to see the patterns and start making those connections. And that's what the secrets are. They're just the alphabet times 10. They're the alphabet on steroids, and they give kids everything. I'm going to tell you this because I'm looking at my clock. I'm already over 10 minutes. I just cannot seem to be concise. But that's okay because this is important. And I was going to tell this story anyway. And I don't think the person that mentioned this, I'm going to change enough of it that if they are watching, they won't probably recognize it. So, but there was a teacher that was using secrets and the secret stories, and she was a kindergarten teacher, and she happened to say something. I saw it on Instagram, and she said, "Oh yeah, we really study the individual letter sounds really hard. We don't talk about the secrets until after the new year, sometime around February when the kids are ready." Wow, so much time lost. First of all, you can capture those individual letter sounds in 2 weeks to 2 months. It doesn't take half of a year. Because what else are they doing for half the year if all they have are abaca effica individual sounds? They can't read or write anything. So you can't really study intensely letters that every time you see won't be making the sounds you're trying to study. If anything, you're unstudying them. Because if all kids know is T says T and then it never really does in real text, how do you study that? How do you do that? Because studying means every time I turn around, I can apply what I know to hone it and to know it and to see it work. So the only way to really allow kids to study the letter T is to let them understand, hey, yeah, it says T except when it doesn't, because anytime it's with H, those two never get along. They're never supposed to sit together. They're not even allowed to be together, but they don't listen. That's why every time you pick up a book and you look on any page, guess who you see? Side by side, sitting together where they're not supposed to be. You see T and H. And every time they're together, they do what they're not supposed to, which is, and that's the reason they're not allowed to sit together. But they don't listen, so there's where they are. Now, if kids understand there's these, this is what T's supposed to do, but if not this, then that, that's patterning. That's the brain system for learning. Patterning. If not this, then that. If not that, then this. If that isn't it, here's the next thing. That's the brain's natural MO. That's how it just functions and operates. It's the brain system for learning. Tapping into this already pattern-making machine means the brain can just keep doing what it does and everything falls right into place. If you try to go against the brain's pattern system for learning and just tell kids to expect a T to say T, then the brain's going to just give up. And if the brain if there's nothing that can be made sense of, then the brain disengages. It won't play the game. If you want to keep the brain in the game, it has to actually have a way to get a leg up on what you're showing, what you're saying, what it's seeing. So the way to really intensively study the individual letters is to also give kids simultaneously the awareness of what it does when it's not doing what it should. They don't have to understand the secret per se. They just have to know there's an out. Meaning from day one, they know, hey, listen, anytime a letter isn't doing what you think it's supposed to, just because there's a grown-up reading and writing secret in that word. And, I can't always tell you what they are. Sometimes it's like a second grade secret. I mean, I can't tell a kindergarten class a second grade secret. I mean, well, I guess I could think about it. I don't know. You are a pretty smart class. You know what? Maybe I'm going to look and see what your behavior looks like in music, and maybe I will tell you the secret that's in that word, that's in our book that we're supposed to be reading anyway, or that's on our word wall. How, the word her, the word she, the word the, all those simple sight words kids are supposed to learn have secrets in them. So why are the phonics patterns or secrets that they need to read those words taught the next grade or the grade after? That's just dumb. Sorry, but it's just dumb. Why should they wait to get what they need to read the word that they actually have to read now? So if we have a way to power them up and give them what they need, then we cut out the memorization, we cut out the anti-brain friendly stuff, and we really connect and hone these things at a deeper level that gives kids a compounded level of interest with all the built-in reading and writing that we're already doing all day long. And there's no pressure because we're not putting something in their face, we're offering it up on a buffet. It's just a story. These are just stories. And that's why it's not a program. It follows suit with whatever it is you're doing in the moment. You give kids what they need because of what they're in the middle of. And it's not just incidental learning because it's going so much faster. They're getting access to everything. And I always say that the teacher that mentioned about not tossing out a secret because they're intensively studying letters until February, one of the things that she said in her story was, today's Thursday, and I don't know what to do. I don't have my plans down. I'm sitting in my car. I don't know if I really want to go in yet. I haven't written anything yet for this morning. And I was thinking, well, one thing you could do is teach them the TH sound. And then they'll know it's Thursday, because that's a perfect opportunity to toss out. It's been Thursday, for example, many days over the course of this year so far since school started, because this was like November, I think, that she posted it. I thought, so that's one thing you could put on your plan, and you could just find opportunities to spot the secret all day long on Thursday. It'll come in really handy every single week. As will Tuesday, as will the AY for the A sound, or the sneaky Y for words like January, February, or July, or every big book that you read that's by a certain author. Secrets are everywhere, everywhere. You can't wait to give kids what they need now. And so at the end of the day, that is what a secret is. It is just a way to give kids more of the code faster, no grade level walls, no designated waiting time, no shoving anything that's developmentally inappropriate down their throat. It is the opposite of developmentally inappropriate. It is absolutely developmentally appropriate, because it's all about role play and dramatization and music and storytelling and imagination and story sharing. And every time kids look at a visual, they interpret what they personally can bring to the table to connect with that. So all of these graphics, kids might not be able to speak English proficiently, or they may not have good language acquisition. But when you look at something, what you see, if I don't speak English, I can still see this and I can connect with what's happening there. And the sound that I'm trying to elicit, of course, is but it scaffolds naturally, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. A picture is worth whatever it connects with to you, and then that allows kids to internalize it. And because every secret is not a weird story, it's based on kid behavior, kid experiences, things kids already know, things have already experienced or understood. So we're really just repurposing these already connected synapses for learning that are already there. We're just using them to transport otherwise abstract, high leverage phonics skills. And the world's your oyster, because you need to bring the fun back into teaching, or you're not going to want to go back into your classroom in the new year and face what I know all of us face at this time of year, which is, the grind to get to assessments. Even if it's early grade, beginning grade levels, you've got those running reading records, or you've got those word lists. Some states have 300 sight words in first grade. Let kids read those words. It's not hard. If you know the ow or the oi or the ing, it's really not hard at all. And it's fun. And kids love it because you're building the reader. You're not just spinning your wheels teaching the reading. And that's what Jen does. And that's what I love about Jen, is she builds up the reader, not just how to teach the reading. And I think building up the teacher is where it starts. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you some insight into the secret stories, what they are. Message me if you have any questions. I look forward to connecting with so many more of you, and have a wonderful rest of the break and have a great start to your new